Alright, this is not going to be too long of a video. One thing I wanted to remind you from last time, I don't think I talked about too much, was remember that when you read, besides finding a good physical space, sitting upright, all that sort of stuff, try varying your reading speed. Right? Back in the day, people would tell us to read slower for comprehension, all that sort of thing. I think now, with just so much stuff going in your life, so many electronic gadgets around, a lot of you just can't concentrate when you read. So just try speeding it up a little bit. Take a lot of breaks if you are that type of person. Right? If you can't concentrate, as soon as you catch yourself wandering, take a little break, walk around, go back to it. Don't get discouraged with yourself. You just make it worse. Right? So again, if you find yourself, your eyes are scanning the page, but you're thinking about the party this weekend or something like that, just take a break, come back at it. Try not to do more than 5 minutes if you're kind of in that shape. Right? You're gonna have to build your concentration from a small beginning. All right, now we're gonna switch to just this basic business about reading the college catalog. Right? So all of these work about the same. Matter of fact, the way we do it now, just most of the stuff's from the main page. You can see here catalog. Remember what this is a much older apparatus from the school. Right? It's all sorts of committees and so forth all over the college that sign off on all these things. So it's not just what we want to highlight today are different routes to fulfill your core credit, but it's also just general information about the college, for instance. So everybody's got a vision statement. We're regionally accredited. By the way, regional is better than national. The typical sort of intro stuff in this case. If you were ever concerned with your financial stuff, how much do we actually charge for all this? The general questions people have about the college, how do you go about or how do you know, are almost always in the college catalog. Remember, you all are not the first people in college. Has been going on for decades and decades and decades, right? So there's a common place for all this. The catalog is much older than the actual web, although of course we're interfacing it now through the web. If you wanted to, you could download the entire PDF of the college. I recommend that once you've kind of cruised through it online, wherever you're going to transfer to, get a physical copy. Remember, take the same kind of notes we've already talked about in class with underlining, highlighting, anything you can do with react to the test. It's just faster, right? Because you're going to go back and revisit it, right? So if you're not marking up things, you're going to forget what you were thinking about it before. All right, so here, general academic policy is sort of how you get in. A lot of you had a number of problems getting admitted this time, but once you're in our system, you're generally better off. That's sort of the genesis of some of this stuff. Academic regulations, if you had a question about if something may come in, may not come in, all that sort of stuff. Student services and activities. This is a real useful one for a large school if you transfer. You can see what kind of events, organizations, and so on benefit you. We have a lot of clubs here and that sort of thing, but they tend to take on a kind of a heightened thing with bigger budget lines when you go to the larger school. Right? They can really help you out, but if you don't know about them, you don't necessarily have the best intro to a large place. So we're not going to do this right now just because it's easier with the new way that they have it set up by pathway off of here. Again, we're interfacing something that's very old in the system, or at least the idea for all this is anyway. So if you just bounce around and play with your major, look at the different kind of majors, it's going to follow the same basic philosophy. Right? So if I hit speech, none of you are probably speech requirements or speech majors, and really this is the pathway. To get speech, right, to get the pathway speech, you're not actually getting a degree in speech, you're getting an AA degree. So this is what shows up on your transcript. This is the corresponding core. This is an extremely huge percentage of the college on AA degree requirements. So for the speech layout here, English 1, and then for your second communications core, you should take a speech, although it's not explicitly listed there. It should be, and so on. Also remember, people that post these, sometimes they're the actual people in the major. Sometimes it's staff that just sort of got something dumped on them. In other words, there can be mistakes in these. You can always ask about it, or more specificity is the case here. Well, what I want to get to right now is not really so much the degree requirements for this particular pathway. We want to look at the core requirements for an AA degree. All right, so this is what I was talking about. If you know how these work, you can sometimes come up with a few creative ways to get through your degree plan. So communications corresponds to that, the math corresponds to that, and so on. All right, so communications for your 6 hours. The vast majority of people are going to do Comp 1 and Comp 2. Some people do business majors, sometimes Comp 1 and tech writing. Or also for business majors or people in professional stuff, electricians are going to do this now, where we go to speech for the second one here. All right, mathematics. You want to watch this one at your transfer place. Our math here, 13, 14 college algebra, that's becoming pretty standard. All right, watch if you're going into a place where calculus is there 3 hours. Know that ahead of time. Talk to somebody about it and all that. Life and physical sciences, the 6 hours. This is not including the lab. So in my view, this is kind of I don't know. We should probably just go ahead and list the labs here and call it 8 hours. But the labs are reflected down here in the core, the component area that we'll look at here in a second. So 2 of the 6 hours in your component area are actually lab requirements for your science classes. And notice a lot of you all are trying to, at least that I advise, you don't really want to take biology and chemistry and all that sort of stuff. So what a lot of people will opt for are things like, I put a couple of you, I believe, in stars and galaxies, right? Well, solar system, sometimes geology. I don't know what the truth of it is. A lot of people believe that that's just easier than college physics or a straight up biology class or something like that. For our class in humanities, pretty straightforward. We are right here, Introduction to Humanities. This is I call it a cookie cutter class like Comp 1 or something like that, History 1. It's you pretty much all places are going to take this no problem, right? But you could also take here any of the literatures, any of the philosophies. I don't think we're offering this anymore for Spanish, but you could do that when we had the Spanish professor here and so on. Your creative hours for the AA. If you're in an AAS, we're going to look at here in a minute. This is smashed together with this other core, the language, philosophy, culture core. But if you're in true AA or AS, it's another 3 hours, right? So most people are taking art appreciation or maybe music appreciation. I teach this creative writing every once in a while, but we're not really doing a whole lot of that now. And usually this is particular to theater majors. I don't think they're doing art history anymore for this particular component area. They're just not offering it. It's still there. American history, the vast majority of people hit U.S. History 1, U.S. History 2, but you could substitute, right? So if maybe you took this at another institution, if you've taken a Mexican American History 1, Texas History, these are the kinds of things you want to be aware of. And by the way, even if you couldn't, there is always paperwork, remember, that you can run to try and do something. Can you get a special substitution, especially if you're coming from out of state and it kind of sounds like something that we do, right? It's not going to hurt you to try, right? So you might as well try stuff like that. Or when you transfer, same idea, same principle. Your social and behavioral sciences, your econs, geographies, your psychs, you got to take one of these at least to fulfill your social and behavioral. A lot of people think that you need to take both a psychology and a sociology. Depends on your degree plan. Look at your actual degree plan and make sure that you have to do that. If you're in a typical kind of AA or AS, you're not necessarily going to have to do that. Teaching, nursing, stuff like that, that's different. Then you probably will. You'll have to take a specialized nursing course or a psych course. All right, so that gets us into the component area. This is that 6 hours that's left over. Learning frameworks takes up 3 of that here. All right, learning frameworks takes up 3. So then the labs take up 2. So that leaves you with a PE class that is supposed to be here and is not here on this one. I'll call somebody about that. But there's a sort of a general PE class you can take here to fulfill the 1 credit. And if you don't do that, you just have to take another class, right? So we're going to talk more about this in the future and how to navigate it for where you take the fewest classes possible, basically, in the most efficient manner to get out of here. What I want you to note right now is this is a very typical AA, and the AS is going to be pretty close. There's going to be an extra science in the AS, so that would suck up. You wouldn't have to do that PE then if you wanted to get out of here real quick. You just take an additional science class, and it sucks up that extra credit hour that's left over in the 6 hours, right, down here. So then you're taken care of, right? Then you're taken care of. Let's look at, to show you what I was talking about with the AAS that some of you are on, you have even more flexibility in navigating the system here. So if we look at business, we're going to have both of them here. Core arts and science now, associate in science, and then the applied science, so associates in applied science. So you still have math, got to take that. But if you notice, there are just fewer hours, right? Social and behavioral, 3 hours. Now this is smashed together. Language, philosophy, culture / creative arts. So by taking, in your cases, this class right now, you're fulfilling the whole thing. You don't have to take an art appreciation or something like that now. And now you just have that component area here, right? And so the other thing that really helps you is you can take a math class, for instance, and you don't have to take the science classes. You could take a science class and then not have to take the math classes. We're just talking at the associate's level here, right? But it's an option for most. If you're transferring to a 4-year, you're probably going to be better off with the AS, right? But the AAS is there as an option if you know, you're pretty well sure that that's all you need for right now, basically. So, and then it breaks it out again, as you see in the AS. AA and AS are very similar, the difference being what I just described with the extra science. All right, so I think this is pretty easy. This first day for the humanities class is generally just get the textbook day. So y'all make sure you get your textbook. I may go ahead and post some additional screencasts next week, just short little ones about maybe how to navigate Canvas better, or I might get into MLA format or something like that. But I think this will do us for right now. So just message me if you have any questions.